General Protocol Spaces, Banking on Freedom.
Welcome to General Bull 51 of In the Liquid Elephant in the Room. We're going to talk about liquidity, the number one question to ask when you want to understand whether a project is going to succeed or fail. So we have some pretty good people here to talk about this. So ourselves, General Protocols and BCH Bull, because that's a question and an issue that we think about a lot every single day and have worked very hard on. And another project that has also worked very hard on this issue and has found solutions to it, the Cauldron team, and Havor representing the Cauldron team. So Havor, welcome and thank you for joining us.
Thank you. Very nice being here. Yeah, always good being with the General Protocol guys. So yeah, excited to speak some liquidity today.
Yeah, very nice. Okay. And could you, I don't want to get your background wrong with because you have a very interesting background. Could you give a quick rundown of your background, what you do and what you're interested in?
Yeah, sure. So I'm from Norway. I'm a rocket engineer by background. I have been involved with different Bitcoin projects since 2016. I was a developer in the first Bitcoin wallet app in Norway. But have mostly been working in the aerospace sector on space debris mitigation and orbital refueling and stuff. Been a long time friend of Dagger. We met during the block size wars.
I do not know about the space debris mitigation part.
Oh yeah,
we've changed our topic. We're now going to talk about space debris mitigation because that's
we can talk a lot about space debris. So yeah, I have my background in rocket engineering. But I love Bitcoin. I love everything crypto. I'm a freedom lover. I've been involved in stuff like Liberland for the past 7 years. I'm kind of a classical libertarian. Yeah, so that's what I love. And 2 years ago, Dagger came to me. He was then a angel investor in my space debris company, and he told me that Halvor, I think I have an idea on how we can make the world's fastest DEX. Would you like to help me build it? And I said, fuck yes. And now we're here. So we created Riften Labs and made Cauldron, which is now the number one DEX on BCH. We do fun stuff every week. We have gathered an amazing team. Some of the guys are here with me in our Oslo office right now. Dagger just came home from Iceland. He's in our HQ in Trondheim. But yeah, Jacob, Shadow Wizard number 9, he's here with me. Also, Howard Kittelson, he just went to Copenhagen actually, but he also normally sits here. And Riften Labs also makes Moria money, MUSD, the main stable coin and the only stable coin on BCH. We're doing lots of fun things with that every week. Most news kind of stuff is we've made some very good friends in the Thor chain people. So happy about that. Our community is kind of merging and having this shared ethos and philosophy of just loving freedom and not being a bending the knee and being a bootlicker for governments and this big hedge funds and all this bullshit. So happy about everything that's happening.
Hell yeah, these are our people. And we've got Dagger here also. Dagger joined us.
And nice to see
you.
Hey
guys. Hi guys, how are you?
Hey.
Welcome. Appreciate you joining us. I'm glad both of you guys could jump up here. It sounds like the whole office is there. Is the which one of you has the fridge, or has the fridge been ejected into space debris or
That's in our HQ, so that's where Dagger is.
That's in Trondheim. Okay, yeah.
Yeah. Actually, Paul came up and visited.
Right? The automated crypto refrigerator. Oh, it's still alive?
It's still alive. We revived it like this year. Actually, it was we created it on a Coin Party hackathon in I think 2018 or something.
Yeah.
Together
I bought several beers in it. I funded it.
Very
I
good.
was an
Thank you for
angel
that.
investor in the refrigerator's lifeline.
Good. Thank you for that. Yes, we made it. Small development team. It was Dagger kind of leading it. Also Jorgen from Nexa. Howard Kittelson, he was also on our team. Also Tobias Bergqvist, who is now doing CK stuff. And yeah, it was so much fun. So background for anybody not familiar with Fridge Cash. Fridge Cash is automated Club Mate vending machine that runs on Bitcoin Cash, which has a very actually kind of complex but very cool buyback structure. And so it works like this. You can buy soda, Club Mate, from the fridge using just scanning a QR code and paying Bitcoin Cash to the fridge's wallet. And when it's out of sodas, it has just a wallet of Bitcoin Cash. And then it tells a human, and it comes a message and says, "Oh, yeah, I need more Club Mate." And then a human like Dagger and I can go to the store, buy mate with fiat, and put it into the fridge. And we have a multi-sig that we just pay out money with some extra to the human that provided the mate. So it's actually also a it's a Club Mate to crypto on ramp. Actually, it's a very good fiat on ramp.
Is there a little incentive, like a little spread incentive there for the person who goes to buy?
Yeah, it is. Dagger, maybe you can tell, because this is really freaking awesome. So Dagger, can you please tell a bit more about it, because it's very cool, because it adjusts to market fluctuations of Bitcoin Cash price actually.
Okay. First of all, there is like a 5% incentive. You can gain extra 5% crypto if you deliver it to the fridge, which is nice. But it's basically it tries to buy like a box of Club Mate, like 24 Club Mate, and it always adjusts the price so that in the end it will have just enough to buy this set of 24 Club Mates, which means that if the price starts to go up while some beverages have been purchased, then the remaining mates in the set will be cheaper. Unfortunately, that also means that if the price goes down, the remaining mates will be slightly higher. But
So you really feel the pain. It's well aligned with BCH builders. You're gonna feel the pain when the price gets
yeah,
down.
not only are you paying more BCH because the price went down, but you're also kind of compensating for previous purchases.
Right,
but you also
right.
but you also like feel a joy when the price goes up, though.
Yeah, you gotta gauge how much you're gonna drink today based on how you think the price is gonna go today. Right.
Yeah, and you can actually, because there is a normal price, it's like around $3 for beverage. You can kind of see past 24-hour market movements on BCH. Just when me, Jacob, Dagger are in the Trondheim office, we just pass by the fridge several times a day. We can say, "Oh yeah, it's expensive with beverages today," and
Right.
we can kind of get a feeling of of past market movements, past 24 hours. So this is a fun little thing with our office. Me and Jacob and Dagger, just a little remark.
You should.
So actually, guys, you can go and it has a Twitter account. It's Cash Fridge. It's just at Cash Fridge, so you can actually go and see it. You can see a photo of it in our Trondheim office. Oh, it looks like it retweeted some of my personal tweets on Norwegian Army capabilities. That was not that's not good. But anyways, you can see videos. You can see it work in practice. Yeah, it's so freaking cool. It's kind of a
Nice. I just shared
little
that in the
side
thread.
project. Yeah, nice. Thank you, Mervin.
I'm already following it, and it hasn't been updating since 2022.
Oh yeah, I'm
Yeah,
following it. Yeah, I've been following it forever. Yeah. Okay. All right. So actually, that kind of is like a mini version of the discussion we're gonna have today about liquidity. But what what do you think about that kind of strong assertion that I said that the number one thing that's going to determine whether a project, in this kind of money finance type space that we live in, the number one thing that determines whether it's going to be successful or not is liquidity, and how it gets liquidity and whether it gets liquidity. Do you think that's a fair statement? Like, how much have you guys thought about that? Do you think that's not really accurate, or
I
what's
think
your
that's
take on that?
fairly. I think it's fairly accurate. Because the liquidity reflects like trust in the project, but
Yeah,
also like the value that it provides to the user.
yeah,
And we see like from mostly liquidity comes from having good incentives, right? Having good economic incentives, allowing users to get passive yield. But it's in a high degree. It just shows like that the product is modern and that it has high degree of trust.
right. As long as you're not, because there's other ways to get liquidity, which is just literally throw money at people, right? Which is
Yeah.
an active in the money space. Like, I live in Japan, and there's this thing that's called PayPay. I think it's called PayPay. Yeah, PayPay. And it went from zero to just massive distribution, massive availability all over Japan, right? Not because it provides an amazing service, but because they were literally just throwing millions of dollars at the market to just get people to use it and try it and whatever. And that became like the thing it was famous for, was free money. You use it and you get free money. And that was their liquidity, right? Was just kind
It's
of
not. It's
reverse
not free money. It's growth hacking. Come on.
growth hacking. Yes. And then people got really pissed when they stopped giving away free money. They were like, wait, what's the point
Mhm.
of this? This is bullshit.
Yeah.
But anyway, yeah,
Yeah.
I agree. So you name, could you give us kind of the take? Because this is you name specialty area here. Like,
Is
what
it?
is liquidity? What does it mean? Why do you make this kind of assertion about it?
So okay, so a lot of people like if this is on Reddit or a YouTube comment thread, people will probably already be typing about the more formal definition of market liquidity, which is the ability for a market to absorb big and bigger orders without moving the price very much. But that is a that is a bit of that is a lot of words to chew. So so generally it is just that in any product or any market, is there enough money, enough participants with money inside for the basically for the product to work well. Uh, and this is most typical in a product that is a marketplace that facilitates trades. So one product that the listeners might be very familiar with is BCH Bull. The other is Cauldron Swap, and then we have and then these are the most obvious, and then MUSD obviously also depends on this. If you don't have money already in it, then you don't have MUSD floating around for the market for people to use. And then we can look at the broader market and see this everywhere, even in places that are not very obvious that this is a product that depends on liquidity. Because we have liquidity dependent products like trading marketplaces, and even things that and even money like instruments, assets like gold has very deep liquidity. You bring your little piece of gold everywhere. You can always find somebody willing to take your gold for the price, melt it down, take it off you, and give you some other forms of money. The USD has very deep liquidity everywhere. um BTC has very deep liquidity everywhere. USDT has very deep liquidity everywhere. And that is a huge part of what makes them useful. BCH has a lot less liquidity, but it's still pretty deep. And the liquidity for BCH is probably a lot deeper than, say, if you have a chicken. But on the other hand, a chicken is not nearly as dependent on liquidity for it to be valuable. It is kind of hard to just find somebody to take a chicken off your hands in a lot of places. But if you find one, it's not very dependent on how deep the liquidity is. It would have value. People can eat the chicken. Um, so yeah, that's a bit of rundown for the basics of liquidity. And a lot of times, liquidity is basically all you need to succeed, even if your product is otherwise less competitive than some other things. So one very good example is BTC. Um, BTC, people debate a lot about, what kind of technical changes it needs to make they need to make, but just from the fact that it has very deep liquidity, it can go on for a long, long, long time, and reap all the benefits of what people buy and sell when it comes to their mind. Yeah, I need to buy and sell crypto. That is BTC, because it has a lot of liquidity, and the same thing goes with USDT. So yeah, that's a rundown of the basics.
Did you just say you had liquidity in chicken?
Usually if you bring around a chicken, it's not terribly liquid. People would not be very ready to buy a chicken off your hands in a lot of places. Um, but if you find someone who's willing to buy, that person would generally not care as nearly as much about the liquidity, like whether he can take the chicken off your hands and then sell it to some other person, because he's not dependent on it, right? He can just like buy it off your hands and then cook the chicken. So
Whereas money, cash, depends on, right. That's a fundamental aspect of it. That it needs to be easy to move around
yes.
and do things with
Uh,
it,
the, the,
all kinds of
yeah,
things with it, right?
and so the guy who takes it off your hands usually needs to know that there's a bunch of other guys ready to take it off his hands, and that's liquidity.
But the thing about the asset of a chicken is that chickens, I grew up on the farm, so chickens, they can yield farm. You can buy a chicken, and it's an asset that gives you active yield in the form of eggs.
Yes,
So it's
yes.
it's kind of a different type of. It's actually a yield generating asset / payment medium.
Yes, yes. Chickens are kind of unique in that
I'm just
aspect.
joking. I'm just joking. Well, everything I said is true, but yeah. Let's move on from the chickens, guys.
Yes. Right. Okay. So yeah, what about okay, so let's do a high level though, you name, or anybody who wants to talk about it. Like what are the examples of something in BCH? Well, I think we have two here, right? Cauldron and BCH Bull. Something that worked well because liquidity was thought about and made sure that liquidity exists. And so then the question is, well, how did they do that? But then the other question is, what's an example of something, in a contrast, something that really, maybe sounds nice or sounded good, but it's just didn't work or is not going to work because of liquidity or because of the failure to ensure liquidity. Do you have any examples of that?
uh I mean, I generally in this cases, I generally wouldn't want to bring up current BCH projects, because that is not nice. Um, but we could see that in a lot of other places all over the place, including past BCH projects, right? Um, so one example, sorry, Roger, but one example that I bring up to people over and over again is the now defunct local.bitcoin.com, which, for people who don't remember, is a local Bitcoins styled BCH marketplace that is peer to peer, that allows people to list what they offer, uh, what they offer for their BCH, and also what they want to buy, and then people can go through fiat channels, and then there's escrow, and then there's also all those nice things. It even has a texting feature. I think it can do text notifications. It has email. It has relatively okay spam control. It is overall, I think a pretty good a pretty good marketplace for its time. Um, and it didn't go very far. I did some trades on it, but it didn't go very far. And the reason it didn't go very far is pretty straightforward. There aren't enough participants on it. Like if you are a taker and you say, okay, I want to buy some BCH, and I prefer to do it without giving out my banking information. You go on there, you try to find who's ready to sell to you. It you go on there once, okay, you can't find someone who satisfy you. You go on there a second time, you can't find someone who satisfy you, and then you can just give up on it. You just ditch it forever, and that's how it works. So for that, I would say that there were some efforts at advertising it, but it never quite achieved the level of liquidity needed to be self-sustaining, where people could just come in, use it, and then just like that, they themselves add to the liquidity. That's where you want it to be. It never quite got there. So it's like on and off. There were like very small clusters of interactivity and relationships for people on it, but it didn't go very far, despite being I would say, pretty nice product. So there are other examples, but this is probably the one I was feeling the most and bring up the most about.
That's a fantastic example.
I can bring up guys, I can bring up an actually very cool project that have impressed me in terms of liquidity and TVL, and it's Badgers by Sayoshi Nakamorio. Really cool project and very simple contract and kind of simple tokenomics, locking in your BCH, kind of staking type of contract. I see on Tokenaut that they have 366 BCH locked. Super cool. Very cool project. I love it. Speaking on liquidity and kind of hurdles to getting deep liquidity in Cauldron, something we've seen is that people create tokens all the time, and since kind of to grow a token you need liquidity, and to have liquidity you kind of need to have some capital and some stakeholders and many holders. It's kind of a chicken and egg situation, right, where the token creators sit on 1 billion or 1 million or something like that tokens, and maybe not millions of dollars in BCH, and to create a liquidity pool so that people can buy, for example, $10, $100, $10,000 worth of the token, you need to have a 50-50 pool, right, on Cauldron, with 50% BCH and 50% token. And if you create, if the token price is super small, then you won't be able to put out any liquidity, and it will just get drained. And so this is kind of something that we have thought of, and how do tokens kickstart? And the solution is actually to have, in my opinion, ICO style offerings where I can, just for myself, I would be super glad to just be able to buy tokens, kind of mint them, or buy them from an ICO style sale. I mean, good projects like Badger Coins or other good solid projects, and this is why we are creating this initial DEX offering option for Cauldron DEX, the IDO. So yeah, this is really something that I would it will be a good solution for this kind of liquidity hurdle, and to just kickstart new projects and give them the liquidity they need, and give them some funding to create cool stuff, gather a small team, and start, like, giving them a little head start. So
I
that's
actually hadn't
IDO.
heard about this. So there's one thing which is Ponzi's, which are literally, I mean, forgetting the like the morality of it or whatever, but you know the purpose of it is just to pump and dump. But the things that you were talking about, like Badger and these others, is they don't have that purpose, right? They have a purpose of experimenting, showing how technology works, letting people use things, having a fun way to do or to get into it or to learn how to use permissionless money. Um, what is this IDO like? Could you say a little bit about that? I actually didn't know about this. How does that work?
Yeah, so IDO, it's a new concept we're developing in Rift Labs for Cauldron, and in principle, it's just that a token can have minting inside of the token page. So you have a fixed price and kind of like a floor, and you just pay BCH and you get token, and you just pay it into the wallet of the kind of token creator's wallet. So we actually tested this out almost 2 years ago. In which we put a button inside of almost as if almost like with the tokens that are also on BCH Pump, we put a just a button inside of the token page where they could directly mint the token inside Cauldron. So when they clicked the button, they paid their BCH and they minted some tokens, and it was sent to their Cauldron wallet.
I see. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
This is that gray area between, well, a lot of different regulatory, legal, and so forth issues. But yeah, I can speak very directly to this, where we at General Protocols, right, went through a very long, serious, legal, regulatory process, etc., to make the company, to set everything up, to set up the traditional way of doing investors and investments and raising capital and so forth. And it's fucking awful. It's terrible. The whole process is shit. The setup is shit. And it's incredibly inefficient. And there are some benefits to it. There's no doubt that there's some benefits to it with the whole legal and violence framework associated with it. But yeah, there's this gray area that's super attractive to somebody who just says, I want to launch a project or I want to get support for something. And there is this kind of area there, right? Where, yeah, you may not get any kind of formal commitment to what the benefits of buying some token is, but there's also a place where there's a mix of trust, where I know this person and I trust them and I want to fund them and I don't want to deal with this huge regulatory mess on the other side. Yeah, I don't know. It's hard to say something about the subject, but is that what you guys were thinking when you came up with that, or was it just purely just liquidity to bring people to the DEX, or both, or?
Well, mostly it was a question of how can we make it easier for people that want to create cool stuff to start off their projects and to raise BCH from stakeholders and from guys like you and me and everybody in the community that wants to fund cool stuff and be part of the journey. I mean, when cool projects have come up over the years, I've of course been wanting to support them, but I've also been economically incentivized to, if I see something really cool, for example, uranium oxide is a thing that I'm a big believer and a big fighter for nuclear power. So I have my almost entire net worth in uranium oxide in a vault in the United Kingdom, and this is also because I've just ran the math on it, and yeah, so just to be able to put your money in what you believe in and support cool stuff, and not be hindered and choked by the tiny liquidity. And I mean, imagine if you were to create a normal startup and a normal company, and for investors to be able to invest, for example, $1 million in your company, you had to have $1 million in liquidity from prior. And this would be disable almost everyone on earth to create a company to start with, and to have a starting point. So, I mean, like everything we do in Cauldron, we never endorse any coins. We never kind of gatekeep anything. Cauldron is just a pure interface and non-political kind of endorser of anything. This is why we don't kind of put any coins or any other, and this is not we don't see this as our kind of position to have to gatekeep and say this is good and this is bad. Cauldron is just a pure freedom tool and a reader and interaction tool of the BCH chain. So this will be the same.
Right.
This will not be in any kind of way endorsing any kind of projects.
We
or
have
anything.
kind of a one token launch option in BCH right now. That's BCH Pump, which is really cool, but it has some limitations, right? You have to purchase your own coins in the beginning, and also you cannot it has like a fixed amount of money you can raise, and also the price is very variable. It's like more like a gaming asset than a launch platform, I would say. So this would be like a more stable alternative to this more serious alternative. Yeah.
All right. So I want to ask a question for Cauldron, and of course you name also. But when it comes to liquidity, really, how much did you guys think about it? Because our focus here is liquidity, and it's a necessity for success. Maybe it's not sufficient for success, but it's necessary to achieve success with any kind of financial product. Like, how much did you guys think about it? Because we thought about it a lot before we launched BCH.
Yeah, we thought about nothing. Not one single speck. Our only goal is to create the best possible product, and to maintain and have the world's fastest DEX and create powerful tools. Liquidity will come. Imagine, Satoshi himself did not plan and plot and scheme on how to onboard ETFs and banks and all this freaking bullshit to Bitcoin when he created it. His only goal was to create a super powerful tool, like we see with Cauldron. People use the Cauldron wallet and MUSD in third world nations to send each other money, to buy bread, to send their mom money. And this is just because it's powerful. Their own native currency in their country is being inflated. It's a shit currency, and they are too poor to be able to be given a bank account and be done this predatory activity of banking on. Now, we simply focus every single day, Jacob, Dagger, me, Howard, all of our team, on creating the best possible products, keeping it clean, decentralized, and immutable, and we know that liquidity will come. There are thousands of projects out there that solely focus on pumping and dumping their stupid little coin and onboarding millions of dollars in liquidity just to be able to onboard a lot of gullible people. And it's like you said in the start of the space. What happens is that people get free money, and then when the growth hacking funds dry up, they are like, "Oh, where's the free money faucet?" And then the fund is over, and then the rug is over. So we just focus on creating the best possible product. Liquidity is important. At this point, we can handle millions of dollars in liquidity being pumped in. And we see it now every day. TVL grows every single day. It also grows on an accelerating rate. So I'm very glad we did it in this manner. And first things first is create a great product, and liquidity and users are coming, like we're seeing every day with Cauldron and Morio.
That's interesting. I was gonna, I'm sorry. Can you Could you
So
speak to that one? Because if we had done that, if we had just built this BCH Bull as a P2P contract platform as an amazing P2P, it would have 100% failed. 110% chance it would have failed.
there are several things, but I do want to address a very interesting thing that you brought up. I think it is incorrect to say that Satoshi literally did nothing to
Yeah,
attract
that's what
liquidity.
the block
So
reward is, right? Basically.
no. Even before that, I would say that Satoshi announcing his project well ahead of time in the cryptography mailing list is in itself an act to attract liquidity, in the broader sense, and it succeeded wildly because of how he did it. So there are two contrasts, right? So the I would say that if a thing doesn't have liquidity, like if Satoshi says that, oh, how about I mine all the coins and keep to myself? How would that work? That would mean I have the most bitcoins, right? It would also mean Bitcoin would fail. Uh, so you have to announce it somewhere. But you could either go straight to JP Morgan and then get $1 billion and then try to give out free money like what people do today, or you could announce it to a very select list of people on the cryptography mailing list, and then have a very slow start, and then have a bunch of not very rich people join you at the start. That is where you start. They don't have a lot of money, but you have some initial liquidity. You grow really slowly, but those people are extra enthusiastic, and they are rewarded handsomely if your project succeeds. So I would argue that is the path that Satoshi chose, and it gives us an idea of different, I would say, different natures of liquidity pools. Some are more interesting than others. If you have a cryptography mailing list people who are previously unexposed to something as awesome as what your project is, um, that has potential. Um, while if you are dropping billions of people, sorry, billions of dollars to billions of USDT, to degenerates who had their brains completely fried uh yield hacking, jumping from one yield hacking place to another yield hacking place, that is probably a lot less valuable. So there are differences in the place you get your liquidity from, and what kind of prices you pay, and what ultimately comes out of it. And I think it is a super interesting topic.
What is the difference, the one that I was bringing up between BCH Bull, where, or just any hedge, right? This P2P contract versus, I mean, I think I can see it, but you'll say it much better than I can. What's the difference between that, where if we hadn't thought very carefully and planned carefully about liquidity, there's 100% chance the project would have failed and not worked, right? Um, and then between that and Cauldron, where, I mean, there's the AMM and there's several differences, but could you kind of contrast those? Why is it that Cauldron works? I mean, you Cauldron guys, you're really good at marketing and so forth. But to just simplify it, to say that Cauldron automatically draws liquidity and BCH Bull did not. What's the difference there?
So there are two parts to a market. Well, not every market works like this, but a lot of markets look like this. And Cauldron and BCH Bull are two of them. So in a lot of markets, there are makers and takers. And takers are people with a very short time preference. They want to do some. They want to do a trade. They want to perform a action, and they want to do it immediately, or at least within a very short time frame. If you make them wait too long, they get bored. Or they get impatient, or whatever they want to do is no longer relevant, and then they go away. Um, So if a market is full of takers, but no makers, it fails. Um, Makers are people who are willing to put their capital in. They have longer time preferences. They are willing to let their capital just sit there waiting for takers. If you make them wait too long and their capital is sitting there not doing anything, they will still go away. They don't have infinite patience, but they have longer patience than takers and can wait for people to come in. So generally speaking, you want some makers, and then when the makers come, you would then want to get the takers in to generate some profits for the makers before the makers get bored and leave, right? Um, so in the case of Cauldron, I would say that because of the nature of Cauldron, where people can just come in without a lot of effort, and they can start with a minimal amount of capital, and anyone can become a maker. There can be a lot of ups and downs where people just become a maker and then their project basically fails, would not attract takers, and then they go down. It's doesn't that in itself doesn't hurt the overall thing, and then it can be tried again and again, and then wow, at some point someone succeeds, and then bloom, it becomes a huge not necessarily huge, but it becomes a bigger and kind of sustainable thing. BCH Bull by its nature doesn't do that. And we also have a separate problem where we are not a DEX, and it's not very easy for people to be a maker in a permissionless way. That is going to be solved in the near future, but it is not now. But in any case, even if we have that quote unquote quote unquote solved from the beginning, like if it's easier for people to make, we still have the problem where what we offer is essentially a cauldron, is essentially a pair. Well, I mean, there's also euro and whatever, but what people care the most about is generally just USD BCH. And so we don't have infinite tries. If that fails, the product kind of just fails. You can't just say, hey, come back. We have a little bit of liquidity here, and then we have a little bit of liquidity there. Like it's a lot harder to piece things together, and we don't have infinite well, not infinite, but we don't get a lot of tries. So that is another difference in the nature. So what we ended up doing is that there are much bigger investors with much longer time preferences come in, and they pull together to become what we aggregately tell people is the liquidity provider pool in the channels, and that ended up working out sort of kind of well, and that's it. So yeah, the difference in nature for the marketplaces kind of decided how the liquidity is recruited so far.
I mean, I think you guys did the right thing given the product. It was very smart to create the maker market. And if we circle back to I don't want to say failed the BCH project, but a not so successful BCH project. When we had SLP tokens, we also had a marketplace. We had memo.cash, where you could exchange your SLP for BCH and back and forth. But it just didn't have makers, right? It's very hard to have price discovery. It was very hard to offer coins for the right amount for the fair price, and also for the takers. There's a high risk of accepting an offer, because if you wanted to circle back, then that would take forever. So thankfully now we have the tools for it, and to make it easier with cash tokens, But given you didn't have cash tokens at the time, you did like perfect solution to be the maker and provide the tools for the makers as you did.
Yeah, and you bring up a very important point: price discovery. AMMs. A lot of people like to badmouth AMMs, but it is not a perfect price discovery mechanism, but it is a pretty decent one, especially considering how relatively easily it can be implemented on chain compared to something like an order book. While on SLP, one of SLP slash memo, as you said, it's very hard to discover price. People just put up like little individual orders, and if things change, they would just have to take it down and then put it back up again. And it's very hard to know what the quote unquote current price is. It's yeah, and you can I think you couldn't. Yeah, yeah. I don't think that was the thing. Like you couldn't take like partial orders. So it's a pain in the ass. It was a pain in the ass. But also this BCH script was much less powerful back then. So after you sell the tokens, there's also very little you can do with the tokens themselves. So there's also that. But yeah, that was a great example.
Would you guys say so? I often say in discussions that we've really barely scratched the surface of what's possible with the Bitcoin Cash VM as it has expanded in power. I think right, BCH Bull is still well used, and it's using like the simplest version of what you can do with the VM, right? And then what you guys are doing, the AMM is like another level, like a whole different level. But then beyond that, I don't know. Just my gut feeling is that people really haven't explored what's possible yet. Do you think the same thing? Are you looking forward to like an explosion of applications and use cases, or how do you see that?
I think we just barely scratched the surface. We are definitely just doing like the most basic stuff and then building on top of that. And you can see like the Cauldron contract is much simpler than like many of the contracts you've seen even before we had the new primitives. And that just shows you like how powerful the VM has become. And now
Yeah,
we can
right.
build
There's
on top of that, right?
Kiok in the audience here has built probably the most complex contract system, I'd say, that has ever existed on BCH. I think that's fair to say. I don't know of a more complex one, but he's come up with a very feature rich, interesting setup, right, for the Bitcan for domain names.
Yeah, I agree. It's super interesting. But also just we're just learning, like we're still learning like how to use the power of the stateful NFTs, right? Like the NFTs can represent access control. It can represent stake in another product. It has like the options are huge, right? And we're just barely touching on that surface.
It's like early level programming, right? Where it's like, oh, I can do some really basic things, and it's like, oh, well, actually, you can do infinitely complex things. Is what you can do with programming, and yeah, we're scratching at the foundations of that, I think. All right, so on this liquidity topic, you were saying about how general protocols and BCH Bull worked to establish that liquidity. What about when it comes to advice, right? Because we have this assertion, or I've made the assertion, right, that liquidity is the most important thing to determine if your product is going to be successful or not. And for Cauldron, that took one form where it's like, well, the product of Cauldron naturally tends towards attracting liquidity. So that's one thing. But then with BCH Bull, this is very much not the case, right? You had to ensure that liquidity is there for it to work. So what kind of advice would you give for somebody who's working on a project, right? Like, what
there's
would
also
you
a
give
lot of
to how to think about
sorry.
this?
there's also a lot of nuance there, right? Like Cauldron also benefits from being the first, I would say, real dex on BCH. Like if we instead of the first, we got like 5 or 6 down the line. Like, you have Cauldron swap, and then you have Mixer swap, and then you have the, I don't know, spinning blade swap, and then you have the propeller swap. When you get to the fourth one, you get to propeller swap, and there are several different ones before it. Then perhaps you would want. Then perhaps it wouldn't naturally attract as much liquidity. You can kind of see that dynamics play out on EVM, where later dexes go further and further and offer more and more exotic kinds of incentives to attract liquidity. So there is also that dynamic, and that dynamic kind of stays. Even if the initial product is a lot more accommodating for attracting liquidity. Yeah.
And guys, also another thing to bear in mind is that monthly trading volume. You can see this on Coin Market Cap for BCH pairs. It's 10 billion USD, right? So it's 10,000 million dollars. All of these trading pairs are BCH to some kind of USD stablecoin, right? It's BCH USDT, BCH USDC, and all these other shit stablecoins, in my opinion. So we have a $10 billion monthly volume. Thing is that why haven't we had millions and millions and millions of dollars in daily volume on Cauldron? It's been running for 2 years. I mean, Dagger have spoken briefly about this in the BCH podcast. Thing is that liquidity providers, they want to be exposed to BCH, right? They want their capital exposed to the BCH price. They are bullish on BCH. And up until we had a stable coin, or a decentralized stable coin, this was not possible without them having to expose half of their capital to like Autism coin, right? So up until we had MUSD as a solid trading pair, people had to pair their BCH with the coins like SOC, and I mean SOC is a great coin, but people want to be exposed to the BCH price. So we had a testing phase for MUSD from December to May, and then we finally launched a stable production MUSD now this summer. Got it audited. So, I mean, we are in the very beginning of BCH DeFi. It took 2 years. It took so many of us, so many nights and days, but I mean, now is the time. And we also spoke briefly about this earlier. In the Emirates, I had a meeting with one of the world's biggest market makers. They control 1% of global SEX and DEX liquidity, and it was not a good fit. I spoke some about this on the Cauldron Telegram. But we have been introduced to the world's 10 biggest market makers, and we are just in the earliest process of doing this right now. So, yeah, wag me. And thing is that this is. I spoke earlier about our main focus and basically sole focus being on creating good products, and it is that. But we also want people to be able to buy 10,000 MUSD, 100,000 MUSD. People being able to yield farm Autism and all these other shit coins, and just have fun economic activities. So yeah, this is something that we're doing now. Obviously, most of them are unfamiliar with UTXO, right? So, like with all the other stuff we do at Cauldron and Moria, when we are integrating the products with other stuff, other bigger products, we have to kind of learn them. We have to teach them how to integrate UTXO stuff. But at this point, we have the means and muscle and basically an army of people shadow wizards helping us out and doing God's work. So yeah, this is just a start.
But we've absolutely seen the same thing where whatever it is you want to do, people are like, yeah, how do I hook it up to my EVM or to MetaMask? And it's like, okay, hold up. We're in the UTXO world here.
But on the topic of people wanting exposure to a stable coin, I'm really glad this is how they ended up working out. Like, it is an algorithmic stable coin that is the first, and then it is from a bunch of people it is even from a bunch of people that I personally like. That is super awesome that the first serious one turned out to be Moria, because for years, right, before there was even one incursion, and then because the platform kind of went away, so did the attempt. But for years before, what people speculated was that, okay, including myself, was that, okay, so what will happen is that people want stable coins. You can't prevent that from happening. So eventually USDT and USDC is just gonna launch, and it will take over everything. And USDT itself even made it to SLP at one point, and then I think they only very recently deactivated support. Where I think very little people actually miss them. Uh, yeah, so I'm kind of happy that instead of this, people just come in and eat up all the liquidity in what I would say are both shady and more importantly uninteresting ways. I'm kind of happy that the first serious stablecoin in on BCH turned out to be something I would say interesting. Uh, yeah, and is happily gobbling up liquidity on Cauldron and hopefully beyond.
Fuck yeah.
All right. So how about this question, going back to the advice? Somebody's they've come up with some kind of product idea, and they're like, yeah, this is going to work. This is a really good product. And you don't want to name names, right? Somebody who's maybe come up with a good idea, but it's
That
like, yeah,
happens
well,
all the fucking time.
how is this it's not going to work because there's no liquidity for it. Could you kind of share your thoughts on advice for how to think about a project? If you've got a new project, what does it mean to think about liquidity? What does it mean to make sure that you're going to achieve some kind of meaningful liquidity? Could you give some advice for people who are listening?
Yeah, I could definitely. We have spoken extensively about the importance of just creating stuff and kind of money will flow. But you are so much helped in kind of creating a way for people to help you, right? This is a very positive thing about capitalism, is that yes, it's raw, yes, it has its bad things, but when you kind of turn yourself into a ticker, right? You make your project into a ticker. If people find your ideas interesting, they will help you, and this is extremely powerful. This is like when you are out in the world and people maybe see something in you and they see that you're maybe a smart person. They help you. They help you because they believe in you and they want to be your friend, and they just want to see cool, awesome stuff being created in the world. And commercializing your idea and project as early as possible, this is a good thing, right? Yes, we have bad actors. Yes, we have scammers. Yes, we have a chain called Solana. But the fact is that you cannot let this make you not commercialize stuff, because good stuff needs to be commercialized for it to grow. And growth is good. Capitalism is good. And yeah, there are mostly good people in the world, and when I see good, smart, young people, that be rocket engineers, crypto people, programmers, hackers, I just want to fucking give them money and not get anything back even, and help them. And if this is because I just want to push good things out in the world, and kind of in the direction of what I think is positive. And if you can give also people a way to kind of get a ticket to the ride while simultaneously supporting you, this is very, very good. And I tell everyone this: if you have some kind of a cool project, just make a white paper, create a token, have people be able to help you. There's also a good reason for creating the initial DEX offering. Give them some kind of a reason to invest in you, and I mean, it's an honest transaction. It's very honest. If you really intend to do what you are putting out in the white paper or on your web page, people will happily support you.
Also, shout out to the BCH angels. We have some people in the BCH that are very happy to help, but they are often low on time, and you have to like make it low effort for them to help you. But they definitely are there.
Yes, and generally just hanging out and hanging out in the channels and contributing to all the open source, or to contributing to all the open source and technical things is a great way to gain community trust and get people to help you in all kinds of forms. Yeah. So I think I think Emergent Reasons has been kicked out by Elon, so I'll probably attempt to drive the discussion a little bit. So so yeah, in terms of recruiting liquidity, so there are several stages of this, right? We just discussed kind of the initial stages of recruiting liquidity, like how to make your product minimally viable. You gotta have some makers for people to be able to use it, and you gotta have some takers for makers to not get bored. And so you could make a really cool product that also has low friction, and then sometimes the product would just start itself. You could recruit initial, I would say, something like an angel investment or angel liquidity, if you may, to get it kickstarted and so on. But then I think this question has come up in the past, and especially during an era where there was money floating around, and but not so much money, and that was during the smart BCH era. Of course, smart BCH as a platform has since kind of just went away. We don't want to talk about that very much. But hey, Emergent Reasons is back. But yeah, at that time, a lot of people have asked, okay, so my thing works, my thing works, but what would get us to stand with the big boys? It's would it ever become a $1 billion thing? And that is where things get a little bit murky, right? Like, so okay, so there were discussions that, okay, I be would I be able to get there by just having an interesting thing? But unfortunately, I would say during the smart BCH era, we didn't have a lot of very interesting things. At least not nothing that I care to name. Uh, so I don't think any of them could have gotten there on their own. And now that we have a much more interesting system, instead of a place where we just copy everything from EVM and then hope for the best, like literally copy, and sometimes in an inferior way. But now that we have a completely different and interesting system, hopefully that will change. But yeah, so back then people, I think there were several projects asking, okay, so where would we get to the $1 billion or even $100 million part? Do we get to recruit Binance? Do we get to recruit, I don't know, what was the other Chinese exchange? Anyway, how do we attract Coinbase capital, or how do we extract how do we attract even some of the more, I would say, dubious sources of funding? And then the answer for some of them is that you have to give them incentives too, and a lot of times the compromise is huge. Uh, you not only have to do ICOs or IDOs, I think those are pretty fair, especially in the pure form, but you have to do like insider deals, and then the insider deals there are layers of those insider deals, and it gets weird super fast. So there is I guess there is a there the tightrope not only has to be walked at the beginning, but it needs to continue to be walked like well after, like all the way towards like the big boys league, and then even after that, like did you guys ever think about like what what happens like on your way there and when you get there, like what kind of uh what kind of deals are you willing to offer or not offer, that kind of things? Sorry, I might be rambling a little too much.
I'm gonna say like Vitalik. What?
Well, I think I was thinking about the way you name asked that, and what came to mind was you said you were meeting with the guys. You said the number one market maker, and it
Yeah,
wasn't right for them, right? But
yeah.
what
It wasn't
was
right.
it
For,
that
no, no,
made
no,
it
no, no,
not
no, no,
right
no.
for
It
them?
wasn't right.
Or
It wasn't right for us.
oh, for you, right? So
Oh
what
no,
was it
yeah,
that
of
made that
course.
mismatch? Right? What was it that made the mismatch there?
I don't
If
want
it's
to.
possible to speak to that, okay,
I
maybe
don't
you
want to
can't
get
speak to it.
into that. I don't want to get into that.
But
But
the
no,
reason
they.
I'm suspecting, like you can obviously you're not going to answer, right? But I'm suspecting that the answer was exactly what Uname was saying here, right? That there's sometimes places that you don't agree to go to, and the biggest games in town are sometimes not the purest games in town, right? And so I'm
Yeah,
suspecting that that was the basically what Uname was saying here.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
Uh,
and sometimes they are just very used to the games that other players are willing to are willing to play, and some of us are not willing to play, right?
I mean, the Bitcoin Cash has like an ethos, right? It is peer-to-peer digital money, and we are not working with the banks. We're working to replace the banks. So
Yes.
so you want to find like-minded people. And for instance, we have now discovered that 4chan guys are super like-minded to us. So I see them as a potential partner to massively introduce Bitcoin Cash and tokens of Bitcoin Cash to outside players and and to new liquidity providers, because there are a lot of people that love 4chan, and there are a lot of people that love Bitcoin Cash, and they're happy to to provide liquidity there. And this has like a network effect, right?
Wait. For chat, or we're talking about like slash. Wait. Are we talking about the same thing, like slash bits and stuff, or are we talking about something else?
I'm talking about 4chan,
Thor chain.
the DEX.
Never mind. Thorchain. Okay, I got it completely wrong. Okay, I was like, wow, that is quite a revelation. But yes, Thorchain is a place that has popped on and off on the Bitcoin Cash on the various Bitcoin Cash channels, and I think it right now has a combined liquidity of yeah, it's probably like the it's probably like the biggest biggest quote unquote DEX for BCH setups. I think it has like combined like what $1 billion of liquidity in terms of BCH to other things through Tor to Rune. Uh, I haven't checked in a while, but it's some really large number. Um, so yeah, that is one place where all the liquidity is, and it's kind of awesome that it got there without using any wrapping mechanisms or doing anything explicitly custodial. It's impressive, really.
What is the thing you guys are doing with them? I know you've recently been when talking with them. Is that something public you can talk about, or?
Yeah, we have put down. We have kind of gathered a team of around 40 Bitcoin Cash and Thorchain and MUSD Riffin Labs people to have kind of this team to implement MUSD and cash token support in and yeah. First and foremost, MUSD use Thorchain, other coins, and MUSD.
Okay, excellent. Sorry, a little bit of that cut out, but I think I heard what you were saying. Yeah, you guys have the team, and you have a number of people working on both sides, right? To sort out the some kind of solution with MUSD and Thorchain, which is very cool, which will work on top of the already high BCH liquidity on Thorchain. That's very cool.
Getting MUSD in there would be awesome. Like once MUSD is in, that would probably I think that would likely mean that it will be a lot easier to also introduce other potential cash tokens onto Thorchain and gain liquidity after that, right? So
I think so too. They say like as a general rule, you like have to provide 10K liquidity to be
yeah. But I mean, like in terms of technical support,
technical support. You're that's
also. I think the Thorchain guys are a bit surprised how much simpler the token technology is, right? Because on EVM you have ERC20 tokens are basically a contract on Ethereum. And that means to add support rate, you have to develop separate contracts as like a vault.
And those contracts are deep. They can have bugs and so on. Well, on BCH it's just I got tokens. You want them? Yeah, right. Okay.
On BCH it's basically the same, right? It's just use the same concept for storing and securing BCH as you would do for tokens. It's super simple.
Yep. It's like
so they're like, oh, it's got a token now. Yeah, you got a token. Oh.
Yeah,
thanks.
Thank you. And that's the end of it.
That's the end of it. Yeah. Hell yeah. All right. Okay. Well, we've been on for a little bit. We should probably wrap up soon. Is there anything else? So I honestly think this topic is something that for people who are coming up with a project and they're like, I really wanted to do this thing and I really wanted to be successful, or I'm going to do a thing at a hackathon and then maybe if it works, I'm going to turn it into a product. But one, for yourself coming up with the product or a project, if you don't think about liquidity and how many people are going to use it and where people are going to come from and their time preference and that kind of thing, there's a really high chance it's not going to work. Maybe you'll get lucky and it'll work, but it's something that you really need to think about. And then the other is, that's for yourself to think about it successful. But then the other is, you don't want to do things alone, right? You want to do it with a team. You want to find people who are interested, who want to support it. Like you said, Havor, there's people who just want to support very interesting people and people who are doing good things. But then there's also probably a much larger amount of capital and people who want to make money by doing something with their money. And so if they look at your project, they will be asking the same questions. Is this project going to work? Does it have some way to achieve liquidity? Is anybody going to use this? So I really hope people will think about this, and maybe we'll post something later about how to think about it as a new product when you're, or a new project when you're coming up with something, how to approach the problem. But so let's maybe wrap up. Before we do, Havor, is there anything you wanted to throw out there, to any shout outs or anything you wanted to close with?
Yeah, of course. Shout out to the Thorchain guys. I mean, this was so freaking cool, the space we had. Mark from Denmark, Patriot Sounds, everyone, of course, Jeremy, Fiendish. It was so freaking cool. Of course, the Shadow Wizard Money Gang, all the users of MUSD, I love you. You're the best. Current APY for MUSD BCH on Cauldron is 6.94%. 30-day volume is $521,000. We are growing every day. Cooking potions, casting spells, and doing real DeFi magic. Let's fucking go, guys. Thank you.
All right. Dagger, anything you wanted to throw on there? Throw in the pot?
Yeah, build your product. Don't ask for permission. We love to see new products. As for like bootstrapping liquidity, make sure you have some economic incentive. Find supporters. You will find them if you make something cool. Have them join you. In the long run, commercialize. Yeah, have fun.
Nice. You name.
Yeah, and when you make something interesting, definitely definitely let people know, and let people know well ahead of time. Don't just pop the thing and say, okay, yeah, this is what I'm launching like tomorrow, and then it doesn't go anywhere. And then, oh, okay, and that is actually what we have seen sometimes in the past, that some people launch a thing, it doesn't go anywhere. Not a lot of publicity was found, and then they're like, yeah, BCH is not supportive of like things in general, not just my thing. That's not how it works. Tell people early.
Nice. And last thing I'm going to close with, actually, before we take off, I'm posting this link in the thread, is BCH Blaze. So if you think you do have the idea, if you think you do know what to do with Bitcoin Cash, and to create the next great product, the next finance, whatever it is that you're coming up with, BCH Blaze is the hackathon that's coming up. It's the companion to the BCH Blitz conference. And that'll be your proving ground. That's your chance to get out there and show that you have the right ideas and the right skills to do things. So check out the @BCH Blaze Twitter handle. You can see there, and there's going to be a lot of details coming out in the very near future about that. So check it out. Go win. All right. Take care, everybody. It's good to talk with you guys. Thank you for joining us, and we will see you all next time. Take care.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.